Over 15,000 miles I've put on my feet. We're talking about rucking through the wilderness, running on trail and down on the roads. I've learned a few things about footwear and socks and how to maintain our feet, and I want to try to drop some knowledge with you coming up. Hey friends, welcome to the channel, man. I'm stoked and I'm pumped up to see you. So today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to walk through a ton of different shoe and boot choices that you can put in your arsenal the next time that you're getting ready to go drop some of your hard-earned money on some boots. I've learned a few things. I know that many of you all have as well. And so whether or not you agree with my choices and my ideas, my conclusions, or you disagree with them, or you have your own knowledge that you want to share out with myself and everybody else who's watching this video, leave some comments down below. Right? That's how we can grow this community and build some authenticity into what it is that we're doing. So I'm going to break this down into a couple things. I'll leave some chapters down below. We're going to look at some different boot choices. We're going to talk about socks. We're going to talk about fitting and all the works, right? So the first thing we're going to talk about is our boot or shoe selection. The very first one we're going to talk about is the old Marine Corps issued Cadillacs. Man, these things are the shizzle. I know I need some more polish on them. All right, kill that little spider there. But these things were absolutely phenomenal, right? Absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, they have a lot of good things going for them. Got a nice high 8-inch side, right? All leather, easy to maintain, easy to care for. These things are over 24 years old, man, and I would put them back on my feet and go do some rucking. The next one we're going to talk about is the Red Wing, man. This is a classic boot. This is a classic shoe. Man, going back to like the 1800s, this style of boot and shoe had been worn by all kinds of folks. And I've worn this plenty of times off trail. Next one is actually my current boot that I'm wearing right now, and this is just a Belleville. It's current U.S. This is not an issued boot. This is a Class 6. This is a personal choice, and it's a good one too. Next up, we're going to look at the Keen hiking boot that we have here. It's nice, good waterproof, right? A lot of good choices on this thing. And then last but not least are some Lone Peaks. Just some shoes, right? These can't compete, can they? Can these compete with some boots? We're going to find out. So lots of different choices here, right? Lots of different choices. Now, a lot of folks would tell you, that these shoes are a wrong choice to be doing anything off trail because you don't have ankle protection, right? You don't have ankle protection like you do in a boot, right? No ankle protection. Obviously, they're lower, so obviously you don't have ankle protection. So I'm going to dispel this myth first. Right, just because your boots are taller does not mean that you have ankle support. If you can do this with your boot, you have no ankle support. But what you do get, and what is a true statement, is you do have ankle protection, right? You do have ankle protection against thorns, against branches, against anything else that might be out there that's going to rub up against your ankles, and it's hard bone that's right there. So when a branch or something hits it, it can dadgum hurt. So support you do not get, but protection from the elements you do. So if you plan on going off trail, then a shoe may not be the best choice for you. But if you're planning on sticking on the trails, then a good shoe is a most adequate choice. And you'll see a lot of backpackers wear shoes and not hiking boots, right? Lightweight, extremely lightweight. The less weight that you had that you're moving, and you start thinking about hundreds of miles in a single trek, you need to start thinking about ounces, not pounds, right? So you want to take away all the weight that you can. And having a light shoe compared to a heavy boot, man, that's like a way more weight in that leather boot. So the leather shoes, or the backpacking shoe, is a great choice. And I wear these shoes a lot, even off trail, right? Even off trail, because I'm not running around in my skivvy shorts and my shoes, right? I do have some pants on that are offering me some protection. The next one, kind of going up in level of ankle protection, is a Keen waterproof shoe. Now, this one is phenomenal. This one also has some extra insulation in it. But the reason I like these, especially up here in the Northwest, it gets wet a lot. And all of these other shoe choices, minus my 100% leather shoes, I'm gonna talk about these and why they're not so good for this, even though they are leather with some fabric on the side. Man, these are 100% waterproof, all the way up to the top. Man, that's a lot of water that I can move through, right? It's a lot of water I can move through and not have to worry about my socks getting wet. We're going to talk about socks and some foot care towards the end. Right, but these things are a great choice, and they fit like a dream. Next one that we're actually going to go over is the Red Wings, right? So the Red Wing, I've done a review on these before. You can check that out. This is a great fitting shoe and boot, right? 100% one of my favorite pair of shoes that I own. Has some good tread on the bottom, but truth be told, these are a shoe, right? These are not a hiking boot, right? These are not made for backpacking. Not doing some bushcraft work, 100%, man. Go have some fun. We're not doing a lot of walking away from the trail or away from the vehicle. But if you try to plan on doing any serious mileage, I don't necessarily recommend it right out the gate. These can be broken in, and that's the beauty of them, right? Because they do have a good, solid Goodyear welt, and this is the only one that can be resoled in all of these. Resoled easily, right? Which gives them a really big one-up on these other boots. But having that Goodyear welt, it's going to take a little bit longer to break in. But once they're broken in and they conform to your feet, man, that's money. And I'm going to talk about how to get boots to conform to your feet when we get to back to my black leather Cadillacs. Right, so these current rough out boots, man, a lot of people had some problems when we went to rough out. They thought that this wasn't actual real leather, and it is real leather. It's just rough out as opposed to smooth out, right? Now, these particular boots, this very boot actually itself, I bought years ago, and out the gate, I put them on my feet, and I did 12 miles in 2 hours and 38 minutes. I was going straight into air assault school. Everybody would tell you that you cannot do that. Do not buy a pair of boots and wear them for miles right out the gate. But I did, and I had absolutely no problems. Why? Because these are basically shoes, man. These are basically these things right here with a high top, right? The way they conform to your feet, the lightweight, the inside part of the soles, and the cushion that you have is phenomenal. These things are shoes, man. In fact, I gave a lot of dudes a lot of grief when we first started going to rough out because they were wearing synthetic material, right? Nike was the biggest one that was doing that. Now, these will cost you about $150. You know, these about, I think, $150, about $150, about $300, and about probably $40, right? So great choice, good ankle protection, not ankle support, but good ankle protection, and super good right out the gate. Now, they're not waterproof. They might be a little water resistant, but you'd want to hit them back up with maybe some wax. Now, if you're in the military, you don't want to put some wax on your boots, but you could hit with some wax and then hit all your seams with some water repellent. That would help out, but man, you got holes right there. Like you can't do anything about those holes, right? Water's going to come right through there. So initially, the old Cadillacs. These are not my Jungles. I don't have my Jungles anymore, but the Jungles were a good option. But they're not waterproof like these are. These were waterproof. I call them water resistant, right? Because you could get some seepage. But the boots themselves are pretty waterproof. And the more polish that you get on, the more it breaks down and gets inside the leather. And the more weather resistant they become. But these were a great choice, man. I have put more miles on my feet in these things, and they fit me just fine. Right? So a really good, solid choice. So ultimately, out of all of these choices that you could be choosing from, there's not really a right answer for what is going to be best for you to pick. You need to think about where you're going to be wearing these shoes or these boots. What's the purpose of them? Are you planning on doing the Pacific Crest Trail? Or are you just planning on doing some 3 to 5 mile hikes? Or are you just planning on doing some car camping? Right? These are the things that should be driving your consideration as far as what kind of boot. Now we need to talk about fit a little bit, because fitness is huge when it comes to how these shoes and these boots conform to our feet. First thing is up front, up in the toe box, you need to make sure that you have room for all of your toes to wiggle. If they start getting constrained up, right, and it feels like really too tight, that's not going to be good, man. That is no bueno, because that is going to lead to a hot spot. And that hot spot is going to lead to redness and friction. And friction equals blisters, right? It equals hurt feet. So make sure that your toes have room to wiggle. But what you don't want is your whole foot to be able to swivel. If your whole foot can swivel inside the shoe, then your shoes are too big. And that movement of, you can feel the sides of your feet, maybe even your ankles moving around side to side. That is friction. That movement is going to equal blisters. So it should be tight in through this area and through the back on the heel, with your toe box being a little bit looser. And all of these do just that. The actual tongue of the shoe, and I'm going to pull this one here, my Belleville. So when you lace up your shoes, and you lace them up tight, right? But after they're tight, if the sides, you can kind of see this here, right? If these sides end up becoming almost overlapped, then odds are your boots are too big. That's another indicator that your boots are too big. But if, on the other hand, you get them laced up tight and they're like this far open, odds are your boots are too small, right? Now, some of that is going to be dictated based off of the manufacturer and how they actually designed the boot. But generally speaking, if your boots are as open as this is, they are way too big. And if they come down and they touch like this, they are well, that would be way too big. This would be way too small, right? Make sense? Now, why is that important? Because underneath these boots, we're not running around barefoot. We do have some socks on. Now, the best kind of socks, kind of like our boot choices, we have a ton of them. We could be wearing synthetics. We could be wearing natural, such as wool. Now, I don't recommend wearing wool in the middle of the summertime, but it's a great option and choice to wear in the middle of the wintertime to help keep some more insulation on our feet. The other thing that you can do is you can actually wear two socks. You can wear a sock liner or even just a nice pair of dress socks with some good thicker socks over the top of that. Maybe it's like some Fox Rivers, something of this nature. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to help move a little bit with some more efficiency, some wetness, some of that sweat away from your foot and into that outer layer of socks. Because wet feet is no bueno. I don't care what kind of socks, what kind of boots you have on. If your feet are wet, your feet are going to be in your boot slushing around. And that slushing around is going to equal friction. This friction equals hot spots. And in addition to the blisters that you're going to get, you could also end up with some trench foot, which is why we don't want wet feet, because the last thing you want to deal with is trench foot. The other thing that we can use, of course, is by using some powder and changing our socks. How often do you need to change your socks? Well, quite frankly, that all depends on how much sweat you have caked into them. And after moving 18, 19, 20, 25 miles, even on a single ruck march, man, on a 25-mile, I'm probably changing my socks, depending on the time of year, at least twice, right? Once around in the middle and then once at the end. And if it's summertime, I might even be changing them more often. I'm certainly going to inspect them, right? So we need to make sure we have a good pair of clean socks in a Ziploc bag inside our ruck for the sole purpose of changing our socks on the move. Having a pair of clean, fresh, dry socks is like money. Now, what can you use if you do get a blister? Man, there are a few products that are out there. My go-to has always been moleskin, right? Just because you're on a foot march and you're moving around doesn't mean that you can just stop and play some tiddlywinks, right? You need to keep moving. So about the only way that you can is by putting a second layer of skin, and in this case, just moleskin, just stick or peel and stick on your foot. and then you can keep going. Right, and I think that's about all we got. So to kind of summarize, your boots need to fit your feet. They should be snug around the ankles and coming around the arch on the side of your foot, with a little bit of room for your toes to wiggle up in the toe box. Right, short shoes versus high boots for ankle protection, not ankle support. It's going to be dictated based off of what you have, what that mission set is. Again, whether you're trying to go off and do 200 miles or whether you're just trying to do 5 miles, but you want to go through the brush, right? You want to go through the brush. All right, so get a pair of boots that's going to fit right, conform to your feet, provide good protection, be a good value. I would tell you, I would rather wait an extra month or two to get a pair of good boots as opposed to going off and buying a pair of $25 shoes. If I could hold off on it, I would do that. But at the end of the day, the best shoes that you have are the ones that you have on your feet right now. So make the best of them and get outside, right? Get outside and enjoy God's creation, man, because it's all around us waiting for us to participate in it and with it. Different types of material here. You have your choice between leather and synthetics. Neither one has one up on the other that's going to beat them every single time. Let me know what kind of shoes and boots that you wear down in the comments below. Let me know if this conversation was value added for your kit bag. We can keep this conversation rolling, man. I appreciate all you guys. You stay out there and you stay stoked.